Welcome back to another episode of Stretching Boundaries with Elasticity. I'm your host today, Aaron Perlett. And while oftentimes we talk to thought leaders outside of our company, with our clients and other people we know in the industry, today I'm actually chatting with our creative director. His name is Nick Walden. We've been working together for, 11 years, I believe now.
12 and a
Nick,
half, buddy.
12 and a half. See, that's how little I appreciate you and the greatness that you bring to everything that is elasticity. Um, you have been, it has been kind of amazing to watch your evolution as a creative director, leading all things creative at Elasticity. It's been actually rather prideful in a weird kind of way, even though we're not that much different in age. But I've loved watching you grow and evolve. And I think that's a really good segue into kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. And that is that, particularly with the advent of AI, our world has changed. Our world it feels like it's always changing, but it's really had some, AI has had some dramatic impacts on just the way that you manage and think about creating product. And I also think there's some incorrect assumptions that prospective or current clients have about the value of AI and what AI actually does. So I'm curious to, talk a little bit about how your role and how you do it has changed through technology in recent years.
Yeah. I think there's definitely always been there's always a pushback on creative. In just that it's a very subjective thing, depending on who the audience is, you're going after, or what the ultimate goal is of the creative project that you're doing. Um, I've been around long enough to hear all of the jokes of anything from, running your social media account to, my nephew in college could do this and this would, it would work just as well. Or I'll just have my friend who has a, cursory knowledge of Photoshop make, this brand logo or whatever. The evolution of that has now been, hey, why don't we just have AI do this? And AI has uh, some very valuable benefits when it comes to just the way the industry and the possibilities of what you can do in marketing have changed. Scale and speed have always been a big part of any kind of marketing push or brand campaign. And that's always been one of the challenges. And AI has unlocked some of that when it comes to how you can build that scale and get to market. But there's pros and cons to everything because it's not that everything's fully automated, and especially when you've got something that is supposed to be as unique as a creative approach, especially from the brand side where you want to own something and make something totally unique. The strengths in AI lie a lot in kind of generalizing and repackaging information that can work counter to some of that uniqueness. So I think the challenge is always how can you use it to in a way that benefits you and still helps scale a creative message, and some of that comes through workflows. How do you use it to help ideate and even give a litmus test or stress test ideas and kind of speed up that kind of QA process without like just totally trying to automate everything and risk going out with a very generalized or unimpressive message.
Look, it kind of reminds me of some of the things you were telling me about, looking back at, say, Super Bowl ads, in that it was the era of sameness, at least in 2025, it was, in that nobody was standing out because everyone was kind of taking the same formula. I mean, it's a similar thought process, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like with the LLMs and the Claudes and the Chat GPTs and things like that you can use. They are based off of just a huge wealth of data and information, and it doesn't necessarily distinguish. And so if you're really going in and just creating ideas or saying, create me a social strategy that includes like image recommendations and the post copy. Well, if everyone's doing that, the challenge is, you may come out with just a river of same sounding generic stuff that does not accomplish the ultimate goal of marketing, which is going to stand out and create the opportunity to have your own unique message.
Is the biggest misnomer that some people don't understand that it's shit in, shit out. It still takes a human with a strategic mind to give the appropriate prompts to help you elicit the right kind of content from an AI platform.
Yeah, I think the way you go about it and the way you prompt it definitely play into that. Knowing what you're looking for and having, already having the existing kind of strategic knowledge of what the end goal is you want, then it can really unlock some powerful things when it comes to just brainstorming possibilities or what could this look like or getting idea starts. I mean, I hate to say it, and there's some irony here when it's our brand used to be this robot that was kind of funny. It's like we do kind of have a robot in the room with us when we're brainstorming now. For on a few different levels. Like I'll say I personally use it to like, hey, what could this look like? What are some examples of what this idea could be if we're talking something like a campaign? The other side of that too is when you have some of these API connections like we do to say, hey, go out there and look on this and like, has anyone done something like this? Because that is, if you just take everything whole cloth that it gives you, you're very likely to get something like a tagline for a campaign that exists for a competing brand, because it is gathering from the things that are out there that exist. And so that's a valuable step in it just to say, hey, here's our ideas. Because you can do this at scale faster than we as a team could go out and individually start Googling these things and finding hashtags or whatever. Now you've got something where you say, hey, go to the web, look for things that are like this, bring up possible conflicts, and let me know. Because even when we're creating names for brands, when we're doing a branding exercise, that can be powerful. And then we back that up with, our URLs available. Can we go to the US Patent and Trademark Office and search if there's trademarks available? Like we're doing our side with that, but it does increase our productivity when it comes to bringing those things out.
Let's pivot a little bit away from AI to, I want to talk about the importance of data. You and I talk about this a lot, but I think there is again, another a lack of understanding about the importance of data in creative, in the development of a creative campaign, of a creative ethos. Talk a little bit about how you use data in general to build something strategically for a client.
Yeah, data is such a huge part of what we do, and it's mostly to give, provide insights and give a strategic advantage. A lot of times when we're going to market, sometimes if there's a baseline of creative that a client has run before we've engaged with them, or if there's anything different in the past that we can get data from, then we know what hasn't worked, what didn't resonate with an audience. It kind of gives you a foot forward to say, hey, we know not to do this, not to explore these, so we can do something different. Or we tried something and that data provided an insight of, oh, this played really well with our audience. It's something we could latch onto. Let's try to grow it into something bigger. Down to, if you've got a client that works in a specific area, down to color of product or what they need to know to make a move and make a call to action more effective. Like those things are pretty tactical. But the power of data when it comes to where the industry is at that you're playing in, what are the competitors doing, where they've already built their niche, where you can do something different to stand out, or you want the brand you're building to have a unique voice, but you're in a really crowded area. How do you differentiate? Like having those things at the front, give a lot of power to what you create and help you make something unique that can be more effective out of the gate outside of where there's still a lot of use in data, but not as effective or not as efficient a use of resources is, hey, we've got an insight, we've got a hypothesis, we're going to go out and test it and get data from it. And, we can see what works from that, but you've already committed to a direction. And then you have to pivot from that if it's really not working. You want to be able to use what you've learned before that to help inform what you can do that's successful.
All right, I'm going to get you out of here on this last question, and it's something that is near and dear to our hearts, and I know you'll smile when I say it, but what is the one thing that you wish every client could understand about the way you and your creative team do the work that just kind of sticks in your craw a little bit? I wish they understood this.
Oh, that's a good question. It's interesting. One of the things that's top of mind for me right now is just um, in being a creative and having to deal with so many disparate brands, you're required to become an expert in a lot of different areas and fields. And one of the great things about Elasticity is we're not just X agency where we stick in one vertical. We've found some success in some really key verticals, higher ed and food and spirits and things like that, where we've got some good industry knowledge that we can build off of. But we our most successful endeavors are with clients who also know their industry and can work really well together with us to be a part of that process and help gain the knowledge and insights is going to make things more successful. Because you do very quickly as a marketing professional and as a creative have to become like an expert in these areas that are like not something you've ever thought of before. We've had endeavors where we're helping build brands for
Pet
brands that go out
insurance, mattresses,
and pet insurance,
liquor,
mattresses, you
spiced
know,
liquor.
services on industrial crane sets, things like that. It's like you end up through capturing content and interviewing. It's a great way for us to kind of like build that knowledge base. But it is sometimes a challenge to get really up to speed at the pace that we want. And I would love clients to know that they're, as much as we value being a good partner to them and want to do our best work, it's a two-way street where we want those clients to be involved in it too and understand that we're getting a crash course in this and we're trying to move as fast as we can. Um, but it's vital that we're able to kind of have that connection and build the details together because it makes it that much more successful.
Nick Walden, Big Cheese of Creative at Elasticity. Thank you so much for being our most recent guest on
My pleasure.
Stretching Boundaries with Elasticity. I am very proud to be your teammate, and it's a joy every time I get to work with you. So, Nick, thanks for your time.
Thank you.